Sud Melamatwa Kidnap analysis of sorts, back again with another video. As usual. So mona regular receipt. Regular receipt ga mona ne. But so the video anyway. Yeah, Jacinta. More apatlota some propaganda nyana, agenda nyana coming from a journalist from the BBC. I mean, Jacinta right now, warrior queen, warrior king, whatever batlong mo bitayo na. She's doing the damn thing on Azula for the country. We're very proud uh, of the way that she's representing South Africans because on Azula in South Africa, black people are voiceless. Black South Africans, coloreds, in fact, it's not even a black people thing only. Coloreds, whites, Indians, we are voiceless because there's been narratives that have been made up against us, weaponized, to be used against us to silence us. So we're at a point where being patriotic about South Africa is now something that is condemned. And like I said in my previous videos, this is a trend with any nation that stands up for themselves against immigration. You'll be labeled as racist, you'll be labeled as xenophobic, you'll be labeled as populist, you'll be labeled as nationalist. The globalist agenda wants for countries to collapse because of immigration. So if you're fighting to preserve your culture, your heritage, your identity, the globalists don't like that. And the globalists control all the media and all the social networking apps except except TikTok, which they're coming after anyway. But all social media is controlled by them, and they're censoring what we're allowed to say. In some countries, people are going to prison for what they're posting on social media, which is very dystopian. 1984, we're living in that era, Hanazwad. There's no avoiding it. We must just make peace with the fact that this is the era we're living in, where there is no freedom of speech, which means that it's going to take some very brave men and women to speak out against the globalist agenda taking place on Azad. Afetu, don't forget to share, like, comment, subscribe, and make sure that you yourself are starting your own YouTube to voice your own opinions because the media is trying to silence us, which we cannot allow. So Jacinta, when she shuts down this BBC journalist who came with an agenda, she didn't come to do a proper interview. She came to try to push a narrative. And Jacinta, she managed to avoid all these punches that were thrown, and she came back with some mean counters. Very proud of her because Barataham bit to say 30% we're not smart, we're not well read, we don't know this, we don't know that. But the day that we shut them down, they're very quiet. They don't come with that 30% of nonsense. And journalists that are working for the globalists are always just trying to catch us out on something and then trying to make that the story. That'll be the thing that goes viral. One little snippet, like how they tried to set up Zandi, our sister Zandi Letabur, with that silly question about frontline states, as if that means anything. The politicians that know about frontline states are still collapsing our country according to the plan of the globalists. Knowing about frontline states does not mean that you are a good leader. It was a silly narrative that they built around one question. And those are the dirty tactics that are being played. Because I always say to you guys that the media is a military tool. It's a military weapon. Because if you can control the minds of the people, and if you can control the narrative, then you're basically in control of society and in control of the world. So whose eyes are wide open, we have to make sure that these people don't manipulate the narrative and deceive those who are less perceptive right now, because everybody will fit to that point where we all understand what's going on. But we don't want those that are a little bit more believing of the media, to fall victim and fall trap to these little setups. So I also believe video in Jacinta when she destroys this journalist with just pure facts. It's a lot. And this is but to give you context, this is after the March protest in Durban against illegal immigrants. She had a long day. You must understand this woman. She's not fighting for herself. She doesn't need to do this. She's doing it for us, South Africans. And not just so that we can watch and admire, but so that you guys can also get active in your communities and fight for this country, Bafit. It's not a one-man job. It's teamwork. So it's not about having a hero or a savior. We must praise Jacinta when she does well, but it doesn't mean we praise and sit, fold our arms and do nothing. It means you must get active. It should inspire you to get out there. And I hate the word inspire. I hate inspiration. You don't need inspiration in life. What you need is discipline to do the things that you sometimes don't even feel like doing, but you know it's the right thing. That's the type of mindset we need to have. One of militant discipline, not just doing it because Jacinta, Zandile, and them are making it fashionable for South Africans now to come out and be patriotic. Unfortunately, that's just human nature. People are followers. Mara, at least you should use the inspiration and do something useful, Kayona, and get involved in this fight for patriotism. This is not about anti-immigration like they like to phrase it. And they like to also say things like undocumented. No, these people are illegal. If you pay attention, all over the world, they're using the word undocumented as a foil to not say illegal, because illegal is associated with criminality, and we usually as society frown upon or look down upon criminals. So they don't want to frame them as criminals. They want to frame them as these vulnerable refugees, people. Even though these same people are committing crimes, raping, killing, doing all sorts, graping, killing, doing all sorts, unaliving. Hey, man, I have to get used to censoring myself on some of these platforms because I'm streaming on multiple platforms. But unaliving, graping, etc., etc. So, how am I just into now? Then get la alone.
To start this kind of program, and also, do you not think that your actions are xenophobic?
That's the very reason why we started this movement, because we are tired of being labeled as xenophobic every time we're trying to do the right thing for our country. And the fact that we keep being called xenophobic has made a lot of South Africans to sit back and be fearsome of what's going to follow. The international world is going to say, oh my God, South Africans are xenophobic. And we know for a fact we're not xenophobic. We can't be living with these people for so many years. And now, when we're saying it's too much, it's enough, we are told that we're xenophobic. People who are from outside of South Africa do not respect our laws. They don't respect our country. They don't respect us as South Africans. We see them tormenting us on social media all the time. We see them creating spaces like this where we are the ones that are scared to walk into those places because they want those places to be comfortable for themselves.
Well, there's been this assertion that, undocumented, particularly African migrants, are behind crime in this country. Do you have statistics that can back up that claim?
Yeah, well, the Hawks had a press briefing, and I can show you the video where they confirm that 60% of all organized crime in the country is done by illegal immigrants. And we recently saw a letter from the Minister Senzo Mchunu, who was confirming that most of these drug cartels are run by Nigerians. 6 of the 9 provinces have kingpins that are from Nigeria. And that's exactly why we're here, because here is a place that's called Lagos now, which is Point Road in Durban. It's known as a place that's called Nigeria now because there's so many Nigerians and other nationalities living here. They do drugs in front of everyone, in broad daylight, in front of the police station. Yeah, definitely. Because they're so brazen, they don't care. They bribe our police officers. And we told them this right in their faces. We told them, we know you're taking bribes. And so many incidents have happened after that, where police were actually even asking bribes. And there's one of the people who was bribed today who went and opened a case from the very same police. So we're tired of this because it means that we now are not safe in our own country, because we've got people walking in and out of the border because our government doesn't seem to see it as a problem that our borders are just open and anyone can walk in. And then they come and live in our communities. They evict people who are South Africans. They take over these spaces. They take over tuck shops. You show all those shops.
South
over there.
African laws allow them to do that.
No,
It's
they
not-
don't.
Yes, they do.
They don't.
The
Which
fact
law?
that people do not get arrested once they have committed a crime, the fact that they are let go, it
That's not
means
because
that
the
they
law allows
believe
them.
that they can be a law unto themselves.
Can I make you an example so that you know that the law doesn't allow them? Recently, now, the courts ruled.
Buffett, maybe you need some time to process what this journalist is saying. She says South African laws allow illegal immigrants to break the law in the country. The law of South Africa allows them to smoke drugs in front of the police station, to be brazen, and to behave the way that they do. This is a journalist who says the South African law allows criminals to do criminal activity. How do you take this? Okay, so why isn't this viral? Why aren't the globalist media making this clip of the journalist go viral? Like they always clip certain things that suit their agenda. So interestingly, this is being ignored. That a full-on BBC journalist says that the South African law allows illegal foreigners to commit crime in South Africa. This is beyond ridiculous. You can't even take this seriously. The fact that Jacinta maintained her composure, I don't know how she did it. Because for me personally, I would have laughed. I would have laughed at her. I would have laughed because I couldn't, even now, I can't believe it. When I first watched it, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Even now, I'm shocked. Furthermore, she went on to say undocumented African migrants instead of saying illegal foreigners who are in the country illegally. They refuse to say, you see, you must pay attention. They're very, very careful with their wording to try to make the illegal immigrants seem like the victims and to try to make us seem like the perpetrators. My question to these sell-out South Africans that are taking the side of illegal immigrants over South Africans, what voodoo, what poison did they feed you to make you see the suffering of South Africans as less important than the desperation of foreigners? Why don't you have the same compassion you have for foreigners, for South Africans that you live with in the same communities with? See, the problem is some South Africans are living in the middle class. They don't understand what the average South African is going through. Hence why I said you can never judge a people by their richest. You judge them by the poorest of the poor and how the poor are treated amongst them. Look how poorly South Africans treat the poor and the destitute and desperate. They have more compassion for foreigners than for South Africans that are struggling and suffering at the hands of the government, at the hands of illegal foreigners. It's actually shameful, it's unpatriotic, and it undermines all the sacrifices that our ancestors, and I'm not just talking about apartheid when we say sacrifices that our forefathers made. Buffett, there was a 100-year resistance of the Xhosas against the colonizers. We've been in several wars through colonialism, then there's apartheid, now it's illegal foreigners. We've never known peace in South Africa because we have so many resources and we have such a beautiful country that everybody wants a piece of. And this is unfortunately what the globalists do. Because they want a piece of everything beautiful in the world, they oppress people that live in those areas. But this is the level of journalism that we're being subjected to. People think journalism is some dignified profession. Bro, if you're a journalist, I hope you know you're working to push the globalist agenda to create a one world, a new world order. That's what you're here for. That's what you're doing. Whether you know it or not, majority of you, whatever work you're doing in your companies where you're earning a salary, whatever money you are spending within this system is to help further, whatever taxes you're paying, is to help further the globalist agenda. I hope you know. Hence why I keep telling people to detach themselves from this system, because we're living in a a rotten system that feeds into immorality, a system that feeds into unjustness and forces the citizens to accept this as a norm. Because if you don't accept it, you'll be called all types of names. It's unreasonable, and as citizens and as people in the world in general, we cannot stand for it, and we should not. And now is the time to make our voices heard. It's not the time for cowards. If you're a coward, you're going to be exposed during this time, because we're going to find out who the cowards are and who those that are willing to fight and are ready to fight are. But anyway, I just wanted to highlight the poor journalism that we are being subjected to here. It's unbelievable.
That Johannesburg precinct, South Africans, the bylaws need to be enforced, and those bylaws say it's South Africans that are supposed to be trading. But do you know that majority of the people that were trading there were foreigners? It's only now that South Africans are saying we're tired of our laws not being respected, that they're actually enforcing those bylaws and removing people who are not South African. Our laws do not allow for people who are undocumented to live in buildings. Our laws do not allow for people who are undocumented to run businesses and open the streets. They don't allow that. But you know, if you go and tell the police what they're going to tell you, we don't have the capacity. Because that's what our police tell us all the time when we are trying to fight the crimes and the illegal activities that are going on in this country. They tell us they don't have the capacity.
That's just.
Yeah, Jacinta Molail cooked that journalist, paid, sauteed everything, slow cook, pot roast, fry, boil, steam, bake, roast, alles that has to do with cooking. That's what happened to this VC journalist. And I'm so glad that finally we also have a clip, a viral clip ourselves, or we're making it go viral, where we can also highlight, hey, look at your journalists from BBC, uneducated fools. You want to talk about 30 percenters? This journalist seems like a 30 percenter right now. Not very, very informed. Imagine Jacinta has to give her statistics. So what's the point of a journalist if she's not doing her research? Tamo Moblele that the Hawks came out with a press brief explaining that 60% of the crimes in the country are committed by undocumented foreigners, not counting the so-called documented one. You include the documented ones, probably around 80%, which shows you South Africans don't actually commit crime that much in comparison to other African countries that can't even record stats. We can't get stats from these countries, other African countries. So when they say South Africa is the most crime, what in the whole of Africa, it's because it's not a fair metric. You're judging based on a developed African country that can actually measure their statistics versus African countries that don't have the means to even measure consensus, that can't even take a census, Buffett, to know how many citizens they have. These African countries, they don't even issue out birth certificates. Example, Nigeria. Nigerians don't know how many citizens they have in the country. They don't give birth certificates. Like, that system has collapsed so much, they don't even keep track of how many people they have in the country. Like, what are we talking about here? You can't be comparing us to countries like that. These are the people that are called giants. Are you out of your mind? Giants of what? How? What's so giant about that? You can't count the number of people you have in the country. Come on, guys, take us seriously. And then they're going to say, but the black South Africans, it's not them, it's the white South Africans. No, they are all South Africans, black, white. See, we are not racist like you African, so-called Pan-Africanists that see everything according to race and tribe and blah, 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 blah. No, we South Africans, we know our people. And we're not going to have you jealous Africans come and tell us to abandon white people while you're chasing after them all over the world. Africans can't wait to move to Europe, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, even Asia. They can't wait, and South America. They can't wait to go to countries that are not populated by Africans, but then they want to come and tell us to kick white people out. We will never kick white people out. You guys can cry about it if you want. But anyway, it was just nice watching Jacinta expose this journalist and her propaganda with pure facts, nothing but facts. No aggression, no shouting, She did way better than I would have been able to do because I would have lost it, bro. I would have, yo, no, I would have caused a scene because I cannot stand to listen to lies and hypocrisy. It annoys me. It annoys me like you can't imagine. It annoys me. I don't want to hear lies and hypocrisy. Yantin. But all over Guamaka, Bantin, in a way that I cannot tolerate or excuse. There's no excuse. Mutamu wolo Guamaka. Ngwana yo utlwana, ngwana o phela ka letswalo ya batswadi le go batla moshabo. Motho o la bua maaka, well, you must get dealt with by the community. We don't even want you to go tronko. Rona self, we want to deal with you accordingly. Go bontsha gore maaka ke a mahlano ga re a batle ke tsa bana tseo. A o bontsha go godile. So ke mo he ke ne batla go le bontsha fela ka Jacinta video ena e nthabisitseng haholo o bona dinokwane tsena tse ipitsang di-journalists tsa di-BBC ba patang tjhelete tse ngata ba tlang ka maaka ba phatlotse ke moo le thotse hona jwale le sa bua the whole week le thotse. So ha re so qete ka lona. There's still more coming. We've given you multiple warnings. Go home and fix your countries. Leave us alone. Stop trying to bully South Africans and gaslight us with the xenophobia narrative. It's not going to work. Thank you, Jacinta Galabo, hold from Sebizo saying. But hey, so that's all I've got for you today. Kopeli Tokomele, and make sure Halitala Kantle Tsuma. Makorekwera, hohle mo le ante felela ba tsoma, ba tall, le ba fumane. Le be isa maponeseng. Ha ke re le ba bolaya, le be isa maponeseng fela.